Welcome in, everyone, to the very first video on my channel, Will of the Wired. Alright, this video is not going to be like a tier list of the scariest movies now. That's not what I'm doing. I'm here to take y'all on a walk. It's a late night, you're walking with me through my mind. And we're going through things that scared me and traumatized me. We're just walking down this road, and we're having a good time. We're just walking and picking fruit off the trees, man. Just walking and picking fruit right off these trees. That's when I stop and I look in your eyes and I just realize that I don't know you. Who are you? Why are you in my head, picking my head fruit off my head trees? Listen here, pal. I think you've crossed the line. But I'm a nice guy, so okay. You're about that life. You think you're about that life. I don't think you want to do this with me, man. I got 6 months of boxing classes underneath my belt. Oh! I didn't know you were gonna... Oh! What have I done? No! Alright, let's get serious for a second. I've got just a little small intro, but I gotta say, I have zero video creation experience, and I'm making this video on the toaster. And the toaster's not fit for this type of content creation, and it's a miracle that I got this video out. If there's any dips in quality at any moment, just realize I'm still learning what I'm doing, and I will also, look to upgrade my equipment as time goes on. And also, I've been on and off about making this video for a while. I mean, it's just been finding the motivation for your first video is kind of tough. And if it got to where it seemed like it seemed like I was never going to finish it, and I just really wanted to finish it before I left on this long vacation. So some parts got a little rushed. With all that being said, let's quit wasting time and let's get wired in. The first piece of media that I'll be talking about is a film, and that film is Now, if you've ever seen this film, then you probably know that its placement on here is a little bit weird, because this isn't a horror film. It's a crime film, like a mystery, drama, psychological thriller film. And it's, not horror. And to be honest with you, when I watched this movie, although the scenes really stunned me, like some of them, especially the murder scenes, like, they stunned me and they kind of freaked me out, but it wasn't like I was really super scared. What this film did to me was it crept on later. Like when I was, I have a park that I'll go to regularly, and I'll go exercise sometimes. And at night, some of the lights flicker on and off out there, which is already creepy enough. But on top of that, there's nobody there at night. And when I'm out there alone, the nature side of it's already creepy because there's lots of snakes and stuff, but this is the film that pops in my head. Like when you start getting creeped out because you're in a public space like that alone, and you're like, man, what if there was like a murderer or someone here to try and kill me? Like, the film and the killer that pops in my head is the Zodiac killer from the movie Zodiac. I think as men, it's a common thing that all of us do, where there's always that meme about, men dreaming up what they would do if there was a school shooter, where like we like to insert ourselves in dangerous scenarios. And this might be something that women do too. I don't know. I'm just saying as a man, like, I think that we dream up how we would beat a dangerous scenario, just using, our sheer wit and strength or whatever, and it's a common thing that we do. And something about watching this film and the way that the murders were carried out, like, I try to put myself in the shoes of the murders, and I just can't see, like, myself realistically beating it. Like, the killer's not close enough to, like, snatch his gun or, and lots of times it's multiple people involved too. Like, I know the two main murders you get to see in the movie, it's like, oh, there's a guy and a girl, and it's not only your actions you're in charge of, but it's also the person with you's actions that are like the person, there's somebody you have to protect, and it's just a film that broke the illusion for me that, like, oh yeah, like, I'm smart enough, I'm witty enough to get out of any scenario. I was like watching it, I was like, oh man, like, I would definitely get gunned down and get murdered here as well. This film was directed by the great director David Fincher and was released on March 2nd, 2007. And I gotta say, David Fincher is one of, he's very close to probably being my favorite director, but he's up there as one of my favorites. And I mean, he's released great films like, let's see, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Gone Girl, The Killer. And then, if these two movies aren't in my top 10, they're close, but Fight Club and Seven. And then a movie that for sure is in my top 10 films of all time, if not my top 5, is The Social Network. So he's definitely one of my favorite directors ever. And I talked about the dynamic of how it feels like I wouldn't be able to outsmart these murders, but I didn't really talk about how great the murders are carried out in the film. Like, there's no music when they happen, when the murders go down. It's just silent. It's the murderer talking and the victims talking, and it's just carried out like so realistic feeling. Like, it feels like it's carried out by a person that actually knows what he's doing, has done this before, and is going to carry this murder out flawlessly. And like I said, it feels so real that it makes the murders disturbing. And you usually don't get that long with the victims, but you get a little bit of time with them where you start to feel for them, because lots of times they're just doing something sweet, or they're just carrying out their normal day lives. And just to see this go down as it does, it's pretty grueling. The second piece of media to be discussed today is also a film. And that film is Now, for the next movie on my list, I've got Requiem for a Dream. Now, this is a weird choice, and a lot of people might not call this horror because it doesn't have your run-of-the-mill ghosts, demons, and all that kind of stuff. But, I mean, brother, it's got a different type of demons. Let me tell you about it. And I want to preface my list and all these movies by saying that there's not that much that really scares me horror-wise nowadays. Like, there's things that scare me, but I will say that, ghosts and demons and the aliens and stuff like that you see in typical horror movies isn't what scares me. What scares me is shit like cancer. Like, that's terrifying. Doing my taxes and feeling like I can mess up, prison and becoming somebody's bitch, stuff like that. That's scary. That scares me. Gang violence, shit like that. That's things that scares me nowadays. But, this film is kind of like that real life horror that I'm describing in a way, because it handles the topic of drug addiction. It handles, what it's really about is it's about this cast of characters whose lives are profoundly changed and altered from drug use. And, I've grew up and known people, or I've seen drug use a lot when I was younger. I've even had my own temptations and stuff like that. And this film is scary in that aspect. And it's full of just, rough stuff. It's a rough watch. It's hard. It's rough imagery. It's not pleasant. And the thing that this film shares with what the final film on my list, what they have in common is that they're films that I love, but I don't have a desire to rewatch them. This film will leave you emotionally wrecked. It's such a hard watch. Like, and it scares me. Like, honestly, the film is terrifying to me. Like, just how easily you could or someone you know could ruin their lives from substances. It is a incredibly dark watch that it leaves me uncomfortable and tense the whole time I watch it, and thinking back on it, it makes me tense. Up next, I have another film, and that film is the next movie on my list is Pan's Labyrinth. Now, this film is not a horror movie. It's actually described as a dark fantasy film. Now the reason I'm gonna talk about this movie is it's not actually a super scary film. I think a lot of adults could watch it and be all right. Um, but it's creepy still. Like there's still a ton of creepy things. I think it could scare a lot of people that are new to horror. And before I get into a synopsis of what this is about, what the film's about, I want to speak first on why it messed me up so bad. This movie came out when I was 7 years old in the beautiful year of 2007. And I remember going to see this film. I remember that me, my dad, and my brother were trying to have a boys' night. And we were like, yeah, let's go out to the movies tonight. And I guess we were looking through the films that were out at the time, or my dad and brother were, and they couldn't really find that many options that they liked. And, this film I even think would be weird for them. So it must have been super dry in the theaters. But they came across this film, and, my dad might have read Dark Fantasy somewhere or something and was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is a fitting movie for a child. And, me at 7 years old, I was like, okay, I'll go see it. And, movie's rated R. And I went and I saw this film, and yeah, I'm going to say it's very much not okay for children. Especially 7-year-old children, like on the young side, because it fucked me up bad. I remember. I remember actually when we got to the theater, my dad even asked the dude at the ticket thing. He was like, "Yeah, is this fine for him? Like, to see this, you think he'd be all right as a kid?" And the guy was like, "Yeah, sure, it'd be fine." And so that was it. I went and saw it, and the movie was terrifying as a child. Like, not just because there are like horror elements to it and scary ass imagery. It was terrifying because also like it was like my first look into like some, I don't know if you'd call it like heavy fascist or dictator type material. And it was like I think there's the Francoist, I think they call them Francoist, I don't know how you pronounce it, but Francoist soldiers in the film that are absolutely brutal. And seeing that might have been like my first real look into like a super brutal film. Or if they're, any other brutality in film I'd seen before that might have been funny or fun. But this was obviously like a holy shit, this is terrifying moment for me. This film is directed by the great director Guillermo del Toro. He has been known for directing a few movies like the Hellboy franchise, Pacific Rim, the new Frankenstein movie, The Shape of Water. A lot of films where he has to build like fantastical creatures, and it's no different in Pan's Labyrinth. He's a master of just building creepy and awesome characters. So one part of this film that I already talked about was the Francoist soldiers, and I'm getting to see the absolute brutality of them in this film. I mean, you just get to watch them torture these rebels and just beat them down and just do awful things. And I mean, on top of that, the main leader of the Francoist soldiers is being pretty rough on our main character, so you're already nervous and tense for her. Outside of the fantastical things she's having to deal with in the movie, you're terrified for her there. But let's move on to some of those fantastical things. There are the creatures that are built in this movie are what made it absolutely traumatizing for me as a child. All right, I'm going to talk about some of the fantastical characters that are in the film. I mean, the first one you get is the Fawn, who isn't really even supposed to be a bad character, but is still pretty creepy looking and creepy in the way he moves. And I mean, it feels hard to trust him in the film as well. So he always has this like untrustworthy vibe to him. And I mean, still, like, us as a child, I mean, that's still a creepy character. And next up, though, the next character is the most infamous character from the film. He's the one that haunted my dreams at night and stole the show, and that's the Pale Man. I mean, the Pale Man is a thing of nightmares. I mean, he I'm pretty sure there's a mural even where like he's like eating or killing babies in it. I mean, he just an awful thing to look at. And his scene is so great that he's in. It's so tense and so terrifying. I mean, there's other things in the film too that aren't super creepy, but they're very uncomforting and weird. Like, I mean, the fairies that are in it. I mean, they're not necessarily adorable for fairies. There's a mandrake root that feels like it's alive. It's kind of creepy in its own way too. And this freaking giant toad in the film. The film, it just has these perfectly built, fantastical creatures, which is exactly what Guillermo del Toro does perfectly. Is build these creatures that feel so real. But in this film, he builds them in a way unlike with The Shape of Water or Hellboy, where they're just cool characters, where they're actually just very creepy and unnerving characters. The next piece of media on this list is different. It's a music video. And that music video is... I want to start by saying, I don't know if in my entire existence, if I have ever seen a video that has wrecked my soul, just absolutely traumatized me more than this video. When it came to talking about this music video, I had to have a argument with myself because I was like, I don't want to spoil it because the video takes a ginormous twist, and I didn't want to spoil the twist. I wanted everyone to experience, but the reality is, like, how do you go about not spoiling a music video? Like, what am I gonna do? Be like, oh no, like I can't tell you what happens 45 seconds in. I mean, the shit's like 3 minutes long. I'm sorry, I just got to talk about it, but that's where I'm at. This video finding its way to me felt like divine intervention. It's the only way I could put it. I mean, it couldn't have found me like more perfectly, or I guess for the fact that it caused me trauma, I would say that it couldn't have found me more imperfectly. When this music video came out, I was 12 years old. And I don't know for sure that when I saw this video, I saw it exactly when I was 12, or maybe it was a year out from the video coming out, but I just know I was very young. And something like this video could leave a great impression on my young mind. I can remember seeing this video, though. I can remember that night. I remember I was laying on the bottom bunk of my bunk bed. And, I had my sides covered because I had one of those weird bunk beds where the bottom bunk comes out. Like, they face two different directions. And at the time, I was young. I had a phone. And I was staying up way too late. It was one of those nights where it was probably like 11 or 12 at night, and I'm supposed to be asleep. And I'm just looking at my phone, and I'm praying my mom doesn't come in. And I remember I was just so into the video. I clicked on it, and the video started, and it was mesmerizing. It was animated. It's like this anime, and it was beautiful. I mean, the characters look great. The music was vibing, and, pretty calm and relaxing from the start. And then we're going to get into a little sillier side of what you're mean, but, you got to keep in mind, I'm 13 years old. And the video's starting to seem like it's going to have a little bit of freaky content, a little bit of sexual content, a little bit of love making, a little baby making. Ain't nothing wrong with that, but as a 13-year-old compared to an adult, when you see something like that, it hits way harder on your mind. It stands out way more. And so I'm into this video, and I'm loving it. I'm like McDonald's. I'm loving it. And I'm watching, and I'm watching, and I'm watching, and, it's about these teens. They go to this pool, they sneak out, and they sneak into the school pool, which is indoors, and they're drinking some, and they're having a night. And it's two couples, and one couple are way into each other. Then one of the couples, you can tell it's a newly budding couple. And the girl gets to a point with the guy where they're about to kiss, but she doesn't want to do it. And she hops in a pool. She hops in the pool right there. And that's where everything changes. And it's not all right, The video took me from just vibing with the music and the visuals to getting horny. I was 13 years old, dude. To traumatizing me. You know what it's like to go from being aroused to traumatized? Like that? Like to put me on an emotional scale, to start me from being horny to ending at, holy shit, this is life-changing trauma. Alright, I'm going to keep this one brief, but the next thing I'm going to talk about is Crooked Rot. And Crooked Rot is a video that my friend showed to me. It's 17 years old, this video, which is insane to think. I wasn't 10 years old when I saw this, which would my age would be then 17 years ago, but I was in middle school. I know that much. And I was in middle school, my buddy had showed me this video, and this video is like the definition of a scaring the hose. Like, I don't even know how to put it. It's claymation primarily. It's awesome. It's just a little short film. It's made by David Firth, which is the guy who made Salad Fingers, which any YouTube OGs remember Salad Fingers, and they might even remember this video. But yeah, it was an incredibly just creepy, off-putting work of claymation. It was an awesome short film. I know David Firth, he's an animator. I looked at a few other things on his YouTube channel, and I mean, it's something that it's just creepy. It's creepy. It's off-putting, and it's awesome. Like, this is what I was gonna say about this video compared to other things. Is so much it's about like the imagery and how things look. Like this video, the sounds, like whoever composed these sounds did an amazing job because they are so creepy. Like when you hear the nails screwing into the mannequin's head, they sound awesome. And that's what gets under my skin more than what I'm seeing in the video mostly. But it's overall a phenomenal video. And it spooked the hell out of me. So I'm going to have to recommend it. According to Wikipedia, the definition of analog horror is a subgenre of horror fiction commonly characterized by low-fidelity graphics, cryptic messages, few to no traditional jump scares, and visual styles reminiscent of late 20th century television and analog recordings. I wanted to bring up analog horror because of the fact that the Blair Witch Project, similar to movies like the Paranormal Activity franchise, are found footage movies. And found footage movies played a big role on shaping what analog horror is. You can usually recognize analog horror by a lot of its visuals, which can typically be defined by things like its grainy visuals. It'll usually just have like a very distorted look to it, and it looks like it's shot on an old camera lots of times. It looks like it's older, and lots of times a lot of the pieces or the things in the film will be older things, like older toys, older... it'll look like it's meant for VHS, like it's meant from a past time. And along with the distorted visuals, lots of times the sound will be distorted, like it's coming off like an older piece of equipment. And then with that, they'll mix in things like the use of static and stuff like that for scene changes or just different things. Then, in terms of not just its visuals and sound, one way you can usually recognize analog horror is through its fragmented narrative, where it's usually not typically a totally clear story, where things can be cut up into different times, or you have to do a lot of the piecing of the story together yourself, so it leaves it kind of like its own little mystery. The first film in the films that really scare me is The Blair Witch Project. The Blair Witch Project is in one of my favorite genres of movies, which is the horror mockumentary movies, which is like, and this is going to spoil something about The Blair Witch that I'll get to, is that they're like fake documentary movies that are horror. And three films that I love from this genre, I mean, The Blair Witch is one, obviously. Then, no, it's a Japanese film called Noroi, The Curse. It's been picking up a lot of steam lately, but I do love that film. It is such an odd, weird horror movie. And then lastly is the Australian movie Lake Mungo. All three of those films are like, they come to you like documentary movies, like they're real, like where they're trying to convince you like these are real events that happened and these are real interviews with people, or this is the film that we picked up from it. And the Blair Witch follows that same style. Now, I did spoil that obviously was fake, but the Blair Witch had something similar going on to what the Texas Chainsaw Massacre had when it came out in the 70s. was that it had this illusion that it was a real, like these events really happened. Where it tried to really convince audiences, and it was successful to some degree. I mean, I think a lot of people could figure out that it wasn't real and that these events didn't really happen. But to a large audience, it did kind of trick them. And especially to children, if any children watched horror movies, like, which I watched The Blair Witch when I was pretty young for the first time, and it was getting me to thinking it was real. But, if I want to describe this film, it's the easiest way just to say it is that a group of teenagers, or not teenagers, I guess they're in their 20s. I think they're about college-age kids, are going to investigate the Blair Witch. And they head out to the woods. Like, they do, it's like a documentary style. They interview some people beforehand. Then you kind of get some lore about what it is, what they might run into. And then they head out to the woods, And from there, the woods just get more demonic. And that's all I should really say about it. It's that it's a horror movie of some young people in the woods, and things just keep getting worse. Now, specifically, why this might be so scary to me is that the woods really get under my skin. I mean, I wasn't like a super country boy or something. I do live in the South. Like, I didn't grow up always in the woods, but I spent my fair time out there. I had, growing up, I had neighborhood friends, and I had an older brother than them, and they had a paintball field out there, and the woods near our house, we live in the suburbs, we got some woods in the back. They're not super big woods. I mean, it's like a few miles of woods, maybe. It's not crazy big woods back there. And I remember, specifically, I talk about the woods are scary. I remember this story, and this story to me feels like a fever dream. It feels like it didn't happen, like almost. Like it almost feels like I remember it did, and I remember it happening. But it's weird because it kind of popped out of my brain for a while, and I just remembered, and I was like, man, that was so creepy when that happened. So in those same woods that we have, but there's been like homeless people and stuff that have lived back there and different things, but I remember we used to always have this really long trail that we could walk. Like, there was a bunch of smaller trails, we'd walk those regularly, but there was a longer one that we could take. I mean, it was pretty long. It had to be like probably closer to 2 miles of walking. Like, it was some distance to get through this whole route. And I remember on this day, we had 2 German Shepherds at this time. I took the 2 German Shepherds, and we walked to the woods. And I had them off the leash, because it was just me and them in the woods, and they wouldn't leave me or go too far from me. And I remember walking. And I think that because I wasn't super familiar with this trail, like I had walked it a good bit, but I didn't know it like the back of my hand or anything like the other trails in the woods, because it was so long. I took like a turn too early, or I fell off the regular trail. Like, I remember I was like, oh, do I take a left or a right here? And I guess I took a different route. And I remembered walking this. And I ended up, like, the trail eventually caught up with the regular one, but when this detour, there was literally like this shack built in the woods. Like, it was like a shack. I remembered, like, it had a door to walk into and all, and it was this weird shack. And I swear it had shit outside of it. Like, I don't think it was demonic stuff, but I swear it had stuff outside of the shack. Like, I remember it. Because I remember there was, like, some deep-ass holes. Like, really, really strangely deep holes built in the ground. And I remembered walking by the shack and all. And, I mean, yeah, I had 2 German Shepherds with me, which could serve as a form of protection. But it didn't change the fact of how insanely creepy this was. Like, and how weird it was. And I mean, I've never went back looking for that trail again or looking for that. And I know back in the day there used to be like stuff they had built like for paintball and stuff, but this was like way too far in the woods. I remember the paintball field they'd built in the woods, and it was like a short distance in. This was like way, like pretty deep in the woods. Like, I was like a mile at least into the woods, and I run into this random fucking shack, and I was a kid. Like, I was a kid seeing this, and that was weird. I don't know, the woods creep me out, and that's what this film is. It's a scary movie in the woods that feels just very real and like you're there. And to top it off, the ending of the film is iconic. It is a absolutely iconic, great ending. I love this film, and I appreciate it for what it is, and I definitely would recommend it to anybody who's really getting into horror. And I think you have to realize, like, culturally how big this film was. Like, this film was awesome when it came out, and it was a big deal when it came out. And it was made on a nothing budget, and it did as good as it did. So yeah, that is my second to last pick. That is one of the scariest films to me that I absolutely adore and love. I want to start by saying that this film and Requiem for a Dream are probably the two movies on my list that are the most disturbing films. Requiem tears me up. I think this film does the same thing. I think though that this one I can put higher in terms of the disturbing factor, just because it involves children, and it also involves, like, it's horror. It's very creepy. It's actually meant to be scary. So I thought, it fit being more higher on the list. I think the thing that scares me the most about this film is that it instills something in you that is a feeling that, of course, I hate. Anyone would hate. But it's a true feeling of hopelessness. And I think that's one of the few things in this world that really scares me. Like, just complete hopelessness. Where you have no beliefs that the people in the scenario, the children or the family, is going to be able to find their way out of this situation. That there's no, oh yeah, they can work to something better, or they can, maybe get out of this. Like, you just know that things are going to be awful. And as you go on, I feel like I don't want to spoil the movie, but I feel like it's more of just you learning just how awful things can be. And with the movie being like that, I think that it makes the film very exhausting and very, like, oppressive towards you. It's very, you're never comfortable. It's like, there's certain movies out there you watch. There are a lot of horror movies. I mean, or something even like Uncut Gems or Good Time, where it's just this pressure the whole time in the movie, where almost when you finish it, like, you're almost happy it's over. Like, I loved the movie, but similar to Requiem for a Dream, it's almost like one that I don't get a huge desire to go back and rewatch a ton. And it's not because it's, when you say that about a movie, lots of times it's because it's not a good film. But this one, like, it's the opposite, where it's a great film, but it does its job so perfectly. Like, it accurately does what it wants to just so perfectly, which is just scare you, unnerve you, and freak you out. But this film is definitely analog horror, and that's the reason I brought up the analog horror stuff before, is because this film is a masterpiece in analog horror. It's got weird camera shots. It's very grainy, shots the whole time. It makes you, it gives you that unnerving feeling, and also on top of all that, it's got, like, the old cartoons in the movie, and it's just got old cartoons playing, the old children's toys. So it gives you this vibe of an older time. Like, it makes you almost feel like you've gone back to a time you've lived in, like a time in the past. The grainy camera shots, the old toys, the old cartoons, and then on top of that, with the cartoons and stuff, the movie makes you feel even more vulnerable because of the fact that it's children that you're having to go through the film with, and that really makes things harder to watch, and it gives more of a hopeless feeling that, if there was, like I said, this movie already feels so hopeless, but if there was any small chance that they could outwit themselves out of any situation that, they're children, it's probably not going to happen. But all those things, the perfect execution of analog horror, just with the terrifying shots, the absolute creepy vibe, and then just the hopelessness of the film, those are what truly makes it my number one movie that I'm scared of. Like, it just did its job so well when I watched it. It stuck with me for weeks, where I'd go back thinking on it. This is a movie that, if you can put up with it, like, if you've watched horror, I definitely think it's something you should watch. I think people should give it a chance and give it some love. Well, everyone, that's all the films and media that I'm going to talk about today. And now I'm going to talk for a second on the making of this video, as it is my first video. I was really underprepared, and it took me a lot longer than I thought it would to make this video. It seemed like it was going to be pretty easy at first, but then I really ran into some obstacles. I had to go to hell and back to make this video. and I want y'all to know, what I did for y'all out of love. Um, yeah, I actually made this entire video. Well, not the whole thing, but about 75% of it on a McDonald's ordering screen at my local McDonald's. I was in there putting in the work and the time until the employees, you know, eventually kicked me out. They said that for starters, my outfit was inappropriate, which was completely ludicrous. I thought I looked great. Um, yeah, and so they kicked me out. And luckily, right before I got out, I was able to store the video on a USB drive, and I got the USB drive from the only place I could. I mean, the only place I could find one, the orphanage in town. I mean, I stole it. I stole it from the orphanage. I mean, you got to do what you got to do to get by. And so I was able to store the video on there, and then I was able to finish it up at my local library. I had this old man who kept watching over me though, very weirdly. I mean, he was on the computer next to me. He was playing that anime horse girl racing game. Then he would just viciously look over at me in between and lick his lips. So yeah, I went through all that to put this together for y'all, and I hope that y'all enjoyed it. If you did, show me some love. Leave a like, leave a comment, help me get on the algorithm. Help me if you can. If you got it in you, donate to the channel would be awesome. Since my channel is new, it has not yet met the requirements to be monetized, so I cannot actually make any money off this video. I have a Patreon link below that you can subscribe to so that your name can appear in videos and you can receive access to special content of mine. To be honest, I don't actually have any content uploaded to it yet. I plan to have, by the end of the month, content made for each tier so that, you can have access to it, but I also have a link, and this might be the better option for the meantime, to Coffee, which works as a virtual tip jar. And if you want to make a one-time donation to me, it's called Buy Me a Coffee, and you can donate there. But that'll be it for this video. Thank you everybody for dropping by, staying with me for the ride. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. But in the meantime, stay blessed and stay wired in.